Welcome to the Jimmy Jam Sessions podcast. As always, if you enjoy all the content that we've been doing here on our channel, there's the subscribe button down there. It's there. Trust me, it's there. That way you can be alerted for all the new stuff that we do. Our sports takes, food reviews, everything within the world. We do appreciate you. So we pretty much have to just jump into this particular episode. This is something that I am not worried about my editor doing anything. I am morphing everything with the intro and outro. So I wanted to get this type of episode basically to the point that we are now in a pretty much position where if you are a Pittsburgh fan, we've had some worlds of success. Where everyone wants to sit there and just wants to say we're title town and everything like that. I'm not technically Pittsburgh, I'm central Pennsylvania, but it's close to it. But when you go out, you go out farther east and you go into the State College area, that's almost close to Philly base because a lot of Philly people come to Penn State. So that's almost taken over a little bit. But in a sense, Pittsburgh's had its run of many thriving successes. Steelers 6 Super Bowls. The Penguins have 5 cups. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Pirates have 5 World Series. But there's a lot of. But we've had some great things happen in Pittsburgh. Many things happen in Pittsburgh, and when you're a blue collar type of a town, like any town in the Northeast. You're hardworking. You grit your teeth. You're not worried about dirt under your fingernails and everything like that. You bust your butt. And you work hard and you do that. And that's most of these towns, most of these cities here in the Northeast, like a Baltimore, like everybody, like in the AFC North, the Baltimores, the Clevelands, the Cincinnatis, even a Buffalo, even upstate New York, and even parts of the small areas we don't talk about, like a West Virginia, the Marylands, the small towns of Ohio and everything in Midwest and heartland of America. We're blue collar. We do that. A lot of that stuff's also in North Central with Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota. We're all hard-working areas, and we all treasure and love our towns and love our cities, and we love our teams. Even if they suck, we love our teams. I think we're fortunate enough to say that the city of Pittsburgh has been blessed practically for the last half a century. No question about it. For a sense and fact of the matter, we literally look at different stuff and realize how good we have it. We have 6 Super Bowls. We've gone to 8. We won 5 Stanley Cups. We've gone to 6. If I do that math correctly, we went to 6, we won 5. And the Pirates have the second worst owner in baseball. We haven't won a World Series since '79, and ever since Atlanta ended our hopes and dreams in that last pitch by Stan Belinda in the NLCS, the Pirates have not been the same since. Not even Kevin McClatchy could save them. And Bob Nutting, who I like to call Bob, right now I don't know if he's on some sort of an ecstasy kick, but the Pirates are having an okay spring training right now. But everybody needs to figure out where everybody has to stand as far as where the city of Pittsburgh and their sports are. Probably the best thing right now in the city of Pittsburgh, sports-wise, this is as awkward as to say, is the soccer team. We're getting ready for soccer season, and that small little hut they have right outside of the river. That 7,000 seat little shindig right outside 376 for the Riverhounds. That's a fun ticket. Pitt Panthers are okay. There's nothing really to shout about at this time of year with Pitt sports. I mean, their basketball team was good. It's not really high end right now. There's nothing at this very second to feel positive about it. There's one thing to feel positive about. and you could literally get on the masses and just think to yourself that, well, general manager Kyle Dubas is just killing this team. No, he's not. Quite honestly, I was looking for the big trades. I was looking for Letang to leave. I was looking for Letang and Raquel and Eric Carlson to be traded, and it looks like that's not going to happen until after this season. But the Pittsburgh Penguins have 30 draft picks in the next 3 years, 2 first rounds next year. They're shaving a lot of cap. They even got a lot of players in their trades and even traded them again later for more picks. Kyle Dubas is starting to basically pretty much do a complete and absolute hard boot for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Even if Crosby is there, Crosby did not get dealt. He didn't want to get dealt. And Malkin doesn't want to leave either. But you have those two. And out of all of the three, the big three, Letang is probably the one that probably is going to leave, probably going to end up being traded anyway. And he could go to Montreal. I saw a report about Letang going to Montreal or going to Dallas. And Malkin's not going anywhere. And they were teasing the thing of Crosby has a no trade. He's going to stay at Penguin for the rest of his career. But you keep hearing Paul Bassinet and a handful of others saying, send Crosby to Colorado. Let him play with his best friend. What are we getting in return? We're getting more draft picks and probably one of the top 10 players in the league, probably top 5 players in the league in league history. I'm open for Penguins reboot. I've seen 5 Stanley Cups. I'm okay with this. Detroit had a hard reboot, and they're looking pretty good. And they're a pretty fun team to watch. Young, talented, got a lot of pieces. Detroit's fine. Columbus, we pick on Columbus all the time. They're in the wild card hunt. They're fine. And they're playing with emotion with Johnny Gaudreau's passing. They've got some pieces. They're going to be fine. And I root for Columbus. I'm okay with a reboot. So let's just do the reboot. You can make your moves in the offseason. The number one thing is to try to get your average age down. Your average age was the second worst next to Edmonton's, and Edmonton did kind of do a couple moves as well. So I'm completely fine with the Penguins reboot, a rebuild. Let's just do it. We had 5 Stanley Cups. We had 5 Stanley Cups. We're going to be fine. I'm going to be okay with that. We'll find another gem down the road. There's always somebody. It's hockey, or there's always going to be somebody. We're going to expand to 30. We're going to expand to 34 eventually, and eventually to 36. The Penguins are going to be fine. I don't really need to talk about the Pirates much, because as long as Bob Nutting is still owner, nothing's going to get done. Sure, they're having a good spring training. That is one thing. Put the product on the field. I've seen all the billboards of sell the team. Bob Nutting is just laughing at it. He doesn't give a rip. But it's all going to change. If the bullpen never got fixed, everyone's sitting there going, Paul Skenes is not even going to be there, not even until July. And Bob is going to be like, well, we're not winning a World Series. Let's trade Skenes, and let's trade Jones, and let's trade Cruz, and let's trade all these pieces, and let's start all over again, because I'm a billionaire through newspapers. I make all this money. I'm wise. I know what I do with my money. Let's start all over again. And then you're going to hear the fire sale hit. And you're going to hear people say, sell the team, that he needs to sell the team. And he's just going to laugh it off, because he's the one that makes the money. It looks fine. Pittsburgh will in fact compete in that division. But the second they go 10-35 or 10-25, just take the train off the tracks, for God's sake. Now, I don't know how much I can go about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because many people know I'm a Falcons fan, but I grew up as a Steeler fan, and I want to see them succeed. That's what you do when you're somebody around this area. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a hard mess. They need to figure out 3 things. And I've been thinking about how to say it on an actual podcast episode like this. And thinking how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to say it in the car, whatever. And I know I'm just going to completely whiff at it and airball it no matter what happens. The Steelers need to figure out their quarterback issue, but at the same time, this year's quarterback system is not really that good. The draft class is not that good, though. There are some lights coming out from the combine. I don't know necessarily if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I've heard it from people at work, people from all over. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. Well, here's the kicker. You need to compete with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in that division. You've owned that division for a handful of decades. Now two other teams are owning it, especially Baltimore. And if Baltimore would have ran the football against Kansas City in the AFC title game a year ago, we'd be in a whole different mess. But it's the kicker. Joe Burrow's got the bag, and he's in a very, very, very cheap organization. I can say that, and Zach Huey, who runs Attic Talks, can tell you the exact same thing. And Baltimore just can't win in the postseason. There are a couple bad drops of Mark Andrews away from possibly seeing Kansas City in the AFC title game instead of Buffalo. The Steelers are in this position where they absolutely need to figure out, do you absolutely need that franchise quarterback this year? Well, there are options for this. And the major thing is, you can go ahead and keep Justin Fields, which is completely fine. I'm totally all for that because when I said when they got Russell Wilson, okay, you got Russell and you also have Justin Fields. You have a two quarterback system. But you went with Russell when Russell became healthy. And yes, he got you a bunch of points, but when you got to that death area of the end of your season, he fell apart. And that was the schedule of death for them. Of course, that run where they had to play 3 games in 11 days, and they just got steamrolled. And I don't want to hear that Kansas City did the same thing. That's Kansas City. They had 3 games in 11 days too, but they won them all. So, Steelers, you need to figure out exactly about pretty much, I don't want to say 2 or 3 things, but Justin Fields would be immediately my guess to take for your quarterback. 2-3 years, I saw somebody put a blimp on it, and I thought the deal was already done. It's not. It's a projection. 2-3 years, even 2 years, 15, 20 million, that would be fine. Go get yourself a decent backup, a veteran backup. I don't even care if you get Daniel Jones at a league minimum. I don't care. You can still draft a quarterback if you want. If you can't, and you're not crazy, although you are talking to a bunch, get one from the UFL. Get one from Europe. I don't care. You can get a quarterback anywhere. Let them be in the practice squad. If you have to find another Tommy DeVito, fine. But you can find a quarterback. But my guess immediately would be go get Justin Fields and just have him for a bridge 2 or 3 years. And if he does well, then you can give him a bigger deal. You can give him, if he does well, then you can possibly give him a Brock Purdy extension. But you have to see what he has. And I've seen things of, you need to compete in that division. You will have the 3rd best quarterback in that division, barring if the Browns don't get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. And I'm just thinking to myself, I saw a bunch of things like, why don't you just go get a megastar? But you can't. You have $60 million in cap room. One of your other biggest things you need to take care of is your offensive line. And sure, your offensive line is below average, but it helps. But if you can be Kansas City for one time in your life, Kansas City rebuilt their offensive line in half a year, in 6 months. When they got destroyed by Tom Brady in the pandemic Super Bowl, they fixed their offensive line in 6 months. They won 2 Super Bowls right after that because they fixed their offensive line. The Chargers fixed their offensive line. And people are already saying when they drafted Joe Alt, he might be a top 5 offensive lineman in the league already. And he just came out of college. Why can't you just be a Kansas City, a Chargers? You have $60 million cap room. If you absolutely need to make room, the Chicago Bears just made 2 moves to fix their offensive line just to help Caleb Williams, and they were quietly under the table. And that now makes that division a heck of a lot better. I don't necessarily know. It's not that you need the cap room. You can get it anywhere, but you're not going to make a big deal just to go get another major quarterback. I saw something of saying they were going to go get Trevor Lawrence. Put a package together and go get Trevor Lawrence. Then we saw someone said there were those rumors all over, and then the Steelers said we never talked to him. So there goes that theory, but it wasn't a bad one. And then, you need to figure out your future. And as much as you're not going to do anything with TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith or anything, I saw a bunch of things. Even Colin Cowherd had a dumb idea, but it wasn't really dumb. He threw out, I would trade TJ Watt, George Pickens, a first and a third to Tennessee, to Tennessee, the Raiders, the Giants, and be in position to get Cam Ward or Shurda Sanders. If your scouting department is that good, go get your franchise quarterback. Go get him. You have to compete with Lamar and Burrow. Now that's not going to happen. And I saw another one saying you need to get cap room and everything. Trade TJ Watt to Arizona for their second, fourth, and fifth round pick. You need to figure out what you need to do with the quarterback, and pretty much if you fix the offensive line, Justin Fields will have a better season with a second year under Arthur Smith. And sure, Arthur Smith wasn't a good coach, but he took Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and A.J. Brown to an AFC title game against the Chiefs. If Arthur Smith is a better offensive coordinator, then my guess is just take Justin Fields, sign him 2 years. That's a better quarterback class next year. They're not getting Aaron Rodgers. They probably don't want Daniel Jones. They're probably not going to get Sam Darnold. We just saw a thing that the Raiders just traded to get Geno Smith. So now Seattle's going to be in the mood for a quarterback. And we're just now down to the point where now it looks like the Raiders aren't going to get a quarterback. They're probably going to they may be in the lead to try to get Travis Hunter. So Steelers, you have a lot of things to think about. It's time. Nobody wants to hear rebuild. But I'm also to the point where we're now to the point where the city of Pittsburgh we've had it pretty good for a long, long time. It's 2025. We had it great in the 70s, pretty cool in the 80s. 90s and 2000 were okay. You got 2 more Super Bowls. The Penguins had their cups, and the Pirates, well, as long as, Bob is still in charge, we're never going to see the postseason again. Pittsburgh, we're going to be fine. You got a lot of things to think about, but if we're in the mood for a rebuild in all sports, take it, because not every city is as fantastic as it seems. So everybody has their issues. LA gets them. New York gets them. Dallas has them. Chicago gets it, and they're the big ones. Pittsburgh's no different. Philly's no different. You have your issues. You don't have to be great in everything. We've had championships in all the sports. Don't start talking about getting NBA in Pittsburgh. That's the last of your worries. Fix what you have and just let it plan out. The city of Pittsburgh will be fine.